The next Lee and Ian podcast is approaching the station. Please step aside.
It's the Lee and Ian Show, starring Ian Grodman and Lee Navlin.
Hey, how are you, Lee?
I'm great, Ian. The Lee and Ian Show is sponsored by Grodman Law and Mediation. When it comes to divorce, family first. And Ian, we have a new sponsor.
Who's that, Lee?
Our newest sponsor is South Orange psychotherapist Amy Cox Martins.
Fantastic. Amy is the best.
Amy is the best. Amy will help you find solutions to life's most difficult questions, whether you are seeking help for yourself or someone close to you. Reach out to Amy Cox Martins.
She's fantastic. I used to share office space with Amy, and I could tell you all of her clients love her.
She makes a difference for people.
Yep.
An important difference.
Yep.
Ian, today we have a very special guest.
Yes, we do.
She's considered by many to be the greatest mayor in the history of New Jersey. Certainly the greatest.
The United States.
The United States, all right? And obviously, Maplewood too, right?
Yes,
The greatest mayor in the history of Maplewood?
Absolutely.
Please give it up for Maplewood Mayor Nancy Adams.
Yay.
Hi.
Welcome, Nancy.
I don't know if I can.
Welcome, Mayor Adams.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mayor. Now, may we call you Nancy? That's
Yes,
my
you
first
may.
question
It's
to you.
my
Excellent.
name.
Okay, that's
so
wonderful news.
I answer to it more
Now,
easily.
Nancy, just so you know, that introduction was written by Victor Luca.
Oh, I'm sure.
So shout out to Vic for that. Thank you very much. Well, Nancy, thank you so much for coming down. There's so much to talk to you about. Maplewood is, it's funny, Maplewood, they call it a bubble a little bit, but, and I used to laugh at that a little bit, but now we have something very interesting going on. We have Mikey Sherrill, who is a huge fan of SOMA. She's done so much for the SOMA area, and you've got Sheena Collum running for lieutenant governor. So I kind of feel like Maplewood, South Orange, we're in the middle of the state right now as far as maybe deciding who the next governor might be.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's kind of cool, right? To have so much involvement. Well, I've publicly endorsed Mikey Sherrill a while ago, long before I knew that my colleague in South Orange was running for lieutenant governor. So, but this is a primary, and the most important thing to me is that a Democrat wins to be governor of the New Jersey. Right?
Yep.
And so I will be full force behind whoever on the Democratic ticket wins the primary in June.
Yeah, I see a lot of great candidates out there. So it's almost like it's a good thing, I think. You've got an experienced mayor from Jersey City, you got an experienced mayor from Newark, you have a congresswoman who's done so much. So obviously you've endorsed Mikey Sherrill, as Ian, I know you have,
That's true.
as the chair of the Maplewood Democratic Committee.
Right, but not. I endorsed Mikey individually as the chair of the Democratic Committee. It is not the Maplewood Democratic Committee endorsing Mikey Sherrill.
Okay, that's clearing that up. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't get me in trouble.
That's right. So, but both of you are. But anyway, if Sheena were to win, would you go to her party? I mean, or celebrate? I mean, I guess would you go?
I would, if I'm invited, I'll go.
110%. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
No,
So-
Sheena's an experienced politician at this
Absolutely.
point, so she understands the way it works. And I told her I was proud of her, and we texted about it. It's great for her. She's smart.
Yes.
She's smart, and I do like two mayors running on a ticket. So if I wasn't endorsing Mikey, I would probably be voting for Sheena and Steve. So, but we'll see what happens in June.
She is the area's second most popular mayor, Sheena Collin, right?
There you go.
So anyway, Sheena, we're rooting for you to have if this doesn't happen, have a great career as you are doing, as Nancy and Ian. You guys all have great careers. Me, I'm a man of leisure.
You have a great career. You're a fantastic podcast.
Seems to
I am. Right. I have the third most popular podcast now in SOMA. So I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
What are the other two?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to.
No, don't.
They're not
Don't
mentioning
don't
names,
mention the
right?
competition.
All right. Yep. Sorry about that.
You know that about politics.
But Nancy, first thing I want to talk to you just a little bit about, and I give you a lot of credit. You've been mayor now. This is your second term as mayor.
Yeah.
And the mayor's 3 years. It's a 1 year. It's a 1 year.
It's a 1 year term.
So it's your second year as mayor.
Correct.
You've become mayor, and national and international issues have become, to the point where they're landing at township committee meetings.
Yeah.
Like the war in Gaza, Trump. And that's not something you were necessarily elected to talk about or to think about or to discuss or to change. But people are showing up on both sides, specifically Gaza. How do you handle that? How do you navigate that minefield, I guess, so to speak? Because I think that's got to be challenging.
It can be challenging. Obviously, some people do think, well, it's a local governing body. Like, what are they going to do about the war in the Middle East? And I don't disagree. There's not much we can do. There's literally nothing we can do about that. But we're also a democracy, and we have public meetings with 2 public comment sections. And the public comment is for people in our community or even outside our community to come talk about what they care about. Whether or not that dictates any local action that we take on the governing body depends on the issue and depends on how the governing body feels about it. We have passed resolutions, in support of or, against something. And that's part of about what we can do. But it is a public meeting and people want to come and talk about what they care about. And so we listen. We don't engage typically during public comment because our township committee meetings are a business meeting, right? We have things we have to do. We have ordinances and resolutions to pass. So we limit the public comment, but we don't stop it.
Right.
And I think also, another thing perhaps that people recognize locally is that, for instance, the mayor of Maplewood will have more regular contact directly with our congresswoman than typical citizens would. And I think there's a benefit to people being able to voice their concerns to you at a public meeting.
Right.
Because you're going to have the opportunity to speak
to bring
to
that
Mike
to our
Cheryl
representatives,
or our members of the legislature. I think that's beneficial as well.
Yeah, and it also, if they are watching, a lot of elected officials in other communities or on a national level watch the local meetings, or if they'll hear something, so they'll go and watch it.
Yep.
So the input gets to them. So it's a platform that people who are activists on one side or the other of the issue. And right now you put Gaza and Israel in my head, so that's what I'm thinking of. It is a place for them to speak their minds.
The only time I remember things being so combustible, I guess, locally with issues that were when the Iraq War was kicking off many years ago when Bush was president. I remember they had a resolution. I think it was DeLuca and Ryan and that crew. But other than that, you just don't see what you're dealing with. I don't think mayors over the last 10 years, and I'm sure it's not just Maplewood, it's South Orange, Livingston, I'm sure it's other, but it's I give you a lot of credit because that's,
sometimes it's tough because we're not going to all agree. That's the country we live in.
Someone may say something that you agree with, but you can't, put your arms up and hug them and honor them there because it's a business. I've
been criticized by a high school friend, like with Facebook, because I post against our current president because it's difficult for me to not put some of the things out there for what it's worth. And he's like, well, you represent all your residents, and I'm sure you have Trump voters, which we did. We had 1,100 voted for Trump.
I don't think we had that much.
Not that much.
I think it was like 80%. Whatever the
voted for Harris.
89%
for
Harris.
So I know our town. It might be, but also what Trump is doing is directly impacted us. It's impacted our budget already.
That's right.
We lost. We're the health department for South Orange as well, so they lost something like $95,000 grant. We lost $200,000+, so almost $300,000 in health department staffing. It's a tax point. It's not as much a tax point anymore. It's about a half tax point.
Okay.
So never mind your personal opinion. He's actually affecting the local government in a very negative manner.
And he's affecting all our lives. He's being irresponsible. He's being ridiculous, and retribution is his number one thing.
That's
so
right.
Now,
it's scary, actually.
I have spoken to people who have said to me, Nancy, she's out. She talks about how she doesn't like Trump, and maybe as mayor, she shouldn't do that. But I've maintained, because I've known you for many years ago, Nancy will always be Nancy. That's what I love about you.
Better or worse.
For better or for better or for better.
For better
or for better. And, but you're talking about Donald Trump. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this guy?
Man.
And
we only have 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
I think my thoughts are pretty obvious, or maybe they're not. I just think he ran so he wouldn't go to prison. I think it's despicable that we've elected a convicted criminal to be president of the United States. And
30 some odd times.
34 counts, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So, I just worry. I, like many people, worry about. I don't care about Donald Trump necessarily as a person. I just really despise what he did the last time as president, and what he's doing now is just. It's only been 3 months, and it feels like
Yeah.
10 years,
Yeah.
and it's scary. I'm literally frightened about what's going to happen. I've never felt that way before in my life. So that's what I think of Trump.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is a guy that in business, he's gambled in Atlantic City.
He's lost. He's lost all the time.
Airlines.
He
he's
lies
lost.
like a rug, right?
So I think what he's doing right now is he's gambling the way
He's gambling the welfare of 330 million people.
Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
it's a scary.
Yeah, I'm very worried for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of those things that I'm going to need,
Yeah.
and I also already have, and it's very scary. Especially, we think about and not to mention our retirement plans that are
Yep. No
going down
retirement.
right when I'm getting to the point where I should have that nest egg there. Like when it was 20 years ago, oh, well, I've got time, it'll build itself back up.
Right.
But now, my generation,
There's no time.
So that's really scary too. And it's all selfish. It's all built on
I believe
total
so. It's
selfishness.
It's ego.
Yeah.
And maybe to stay
Ego
out of
and
prison.
power.
Maybe to stay out of prison too.
Right.
Totally. I think that's why he ran. I don't think he likes being president so much. But now he knows. So for 4 years, I think he was planning on what he was going to do.
Yep.
So Nancy, when I talk to people again, because I talk to a lot of people, as you know, because
You're a talker.
I have the gift of gab. But people do say, especially newer people, we've had an influx of new people moving to South Orange and Maplewood, and maybe they say, yeah, I want to get into government. I want to do what Nancy's doing or what Dean's doing. Now, when I look at what you've done, and I've known you for many years, you just didn't decide to run for mayor or run for township committee.
That's right.
You moved here in 1989.
Yeah.
You got involved doing all sorts of volunteer work for the community. You kind of accidentally became a politician through all your volunteer work.
Yeah.
Just talk a little bit about that, because I always tell people that Nancy has been doing this for years and years before she even thought of becoming mayor.
Oh.
And Nancy's volunteer work, right, was not just volunteer work. It was work that was having direct impact on improving the community.
Like
I think
Springfield
that's
Avenue.
a very important point to make.
Thank you. And it wasn't intended for that, really. I didn't look forward 20 years, right? I was just, okay, so I was born in Philly. Well, I'll talk for the next 45 minutes of my life. And when I was 5, I was the youngest of 4, and my mom was the youngest of 9 South Philly
wow.
Italians,
Yeah.
So we lived
What was your
in
maiden name?
Adams.
Adams. That makes sense. So how were you Italian?
Baglivo. Carmela Baglivo is my mom.
Oh, gotcha. And okay, gotcha.
From the Sorrento, Naples area of
Okay.
Italy. So her mom came over when she was 10 or something. So when I moved to Rochester, New York, when I was 5, my dad got a job transfer, so we moved up to Rochester, and my mom cried the whole way because back then, you lived right next to your siblings
That was her family.
in South
It
Philly.
was everybody she ever knew.
Yeah, Porter, Shunk, all those avenues in South Philly.
Yeah.
That's where she lived. So she cried all the way, but then she grew to love Rochester. So I grew up in a town called Irondequoit, which is the north suburb of Rochester. The city's like a circle, and then the suburbs are all the way around it, and north is Lake Ontario, and Irondequoit's in that area, Lake Ontario.
And
So
the winters are lovely.
yeah, I happen to like the seasons. So I love a nice cold snowy winter, and those are going away, unfortunately. But anyway, that I digress. I got married. I went to college at Susquehanna University in Pennsylvania, and then I got home. I was tending bar. I met this guy. We got married, and I got pregnant right away. So I had my kids young. So I was 24 when I had my daughter. And then every 4 years I had 2 more.
And you were in the city at this point? Now, where were you?
We were in Rochester, New York.
You're Rochester. How do you end up in Maplewood?
So when I was 8 months pregnant, and this is very memorable for me, 8 months pregnant on my birthday, June 1st, 1989, we came to Maplewood because my husband was in sales, and they had a sales office over by where Olympic Park was, over off Chancellor. And so we looked at Maplewood because that's where the office was. So we looked at 25 houses. It was 100 degrees, 25 houses in Maplewood. And one day on my birthday, we were staying at the Grand Summit Hotel, and I was huge. And then we went to a movie. We went to see Field of Dreams, which was appropriate because I fell asleep because, of course, I had just had that was my birthday thing, was going to see Field of Dreams. Anyway, then we went out to Clinton the next day and looked at houses. I didn't like it at all because we walked into one and the woman was watching the Home Shopping Network, and I'm like, I don't want to live in this town.
Yeah, sometimes, right, you walk
Yeah.
into that.
It was like, no.
Homeowners, that's why homeowners should never be in the home.
That's right. They
That's
shouldn't
right.
be.
That's true.
Yeah.
For
And
those
you
of you
try
thinking
to
of selling,
Get out.
Open house, get out. Right. Exactly.
Good tip from Lean Avalon.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, so we narrowed it down to 5, and we flew back and we put an offer in on the house that I live in now.
Awesome.
So
And-
but in Rochester, between babies, I was doing theater because in college I did theater. And I always wanted to and never had the nerve to audition in high school. So I did in college, and I happened to be pretty good at it. My mom was disappointed when I said yes and got engaged because she wanted me to go to New York.
Wow.
Yeah. Pursue it.
Yeah, pursue it. But I don't know. I chickened out. I went and stayed at the Barbizon Hotel for Women one one weekend. I had been to New York once my whole life, so I know Rochester, and I'd never been to New York City, but it's far away.
It is far, Rochester to New York, yeah.
Yeah, it's like whatever. We didn't
And there's
go.
a thing with Philadelphia and New York,
Yes.
right? If you're in Philadelphia, you don't go to New York.
That's right.
If
We
you're
went
in
to
New York,
Philly
you don't
like
go to
6 times a
Philadelphia.
year when I
Right.
was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So anyway, so that's what I did in Rochester. I did theater in the theaters in Rochester, and we got down here, and I was listening to Ken Pettis, and he was talking about how he got shown certain
That's
neighborhoods,
right?
right?
On a previous podcast, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and we were driving around with our realtor was Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman was our realtor. I swear to God, and she drove us around. She goes,
Generational.
now you're
yes.
now you're in the Hilton neighborhood. No, we didn't see the Hilton neighborhood. Now we're in Tuscan,
Yep.
Clinton, blah blah
Yep.
blah. Right. So I never even knew Springfield Avenue. So that's what was so interesting. Like I live on the corner of Harvard and Yale, and I look down the street one day when I'm in my own yard, and I see this street with traffic, and I'm like, I didn't even know that was here. Like, so I didn't. Springfield Avenue was so bad that realtors avoided it, right?
Right.
So
They didn't want to show you Springfield
no,
Avenue.
we went all the way we could
Right.
to
They'll
not.
show you Maplewood Village, and they'll
Right.
they'll somehow get you over to
Yeah. So when I saw that, I just was like, "What is going on?" Like, and it was real abrasive. There was 2 lanes in each direction, and parking was only on, what is that? The south side,
Okay.
this side of the street.
Yep.
So it was, you take a stroller up there, and it was very.
It was a county road, right? Was it?
It was
a
a
county
state
highway.
highway.
It was a
State
state
highway.
Oh, so it was a state highway. So,
Yeah, 124.
So in New Jersey, just you want us to clean it? Mm.
It was meant to be a commuter to Newark.
Right. Yeah.
So and it felt like that, and
so
there were a
but-
lot of auto uses.
So you got involved in cleaning it and
Every
trying to,
Saturday at 8:30 in the morning. My next door neighbor and I went and picked up litter, and Jay Wolf was also with us back then. He lived on Oberlin,
Yeah.
and we just started cleaning, and then we felt like, well, this isn't sustainable. Cleaning every Saturday, it's not going to do much. So. We started going to the town's Economic Development Commission meetings where Ben Perlmutter was chair, and
remember
I
Ben
love
Perlmutter.
Ben.
Yes.
And he would open the mail, and the meeting didn't really talk too much about economic development. We just went every month and brought up Springfield Avenue, and then finally Ellen Davenport was mayor, and she put us on the Economic Development Commission, and then we felt like we still needed some political. We needed more people to be paying attention, so we formed the College Hill Neighborhood Association, and then we joined with Hilton Neighborhood Association, and ultimately formed the Springfield Avenue Partnership.
And a little known fact, Ian, the College Hill neighborhood was actually named in Nancy's living room.
Yeah, it's
didn't
funny
know
that
that.
Yep. And I remember Springfield Avenue Partnership was named. Jerry Ryan was working on it with us. That was named in Debbie Trumper's. Which her name's Debbie Cochran now.
Okay.
That was named in her
Got
her
it.
living room, and College Hill was named in mine. Yeah.
So Nancy, Ben Perlmutter story very quickly. Many years ago, I was running for office, and I got trounced, as you probably remember. I'm knocking on doors. I don't know the guy. I knock on the door. Knock on Ben Perlmutter's door, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm running for township committee." And so he asks me a question. I answer, and he goes, "No, wrong answer." So then he brings me inside his house, sits me down, and for the next 45 minutes, basically is spoon feeding me.
That's good.
Questions, and here's how you're going to answer it. And when I ask you this is what you get. And when you talk about your opponent, here's it was the guy schooled me on just,
Very
and this was
good.
when the police station was being moved, and he knew all about that anyway.
Ben was a great guy.
Ben was a great man.
Ruth is his wife. Yeah.
Okay, I knew Ruth, but I never knew Ben.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I met him a few times after that, but I always appreciate.
Yeah, he just
the
passed away a
fact-
few years ago.
Yes, I know that. Yeah, so a shout out to his family. Wonderful, wonderful people. So as mayor, what is the things that you find the most? What's the hardest thing about the job? I guess. What if someone says I want to be mayor someday? What might you say? Okay, well here's what you better look out for. And what are some of the great things about the job?
That's always a hard question. Because I don't focus on the work that way. I don't think of it that way. Like this is hard. I mean, being at a lot of things in the community, like when I, might want to just be in my pajamas and stay home a little bit. Yeah. The time commitment is tough. I'd say that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
Not so much the actual meetings and the governing part. That I really enjoy, but the time commitment sometimes makes life difficult.
Yeah, because I know, I'll say, hey, let's meet up for this or that, and you're like, I'd love to. I've got,
got
this meeting.
I got
the
mayor's
finance
stuff.
meeting. I got the board.
That's it, every night.
As Mary Marzano when she texts me to.
Yep.
Are you doing anything? And she's going, okay, let me guess, you got mayor shit. I'm like,
right.
yeah.
I got mayor shit. Right. Yeah, exactly. She wanted you to watch the Villanova game, probably.
Yes,
right,
yeah, that's what they do. I'm like, don't text me. I'm watching it when I get home from my meeting.
So quickly, the Villanova, you love Villanova. Is that from being a Philly gal?
Well, that's part of it, but my husband graduated from Villanova, so he was already a Villanova
So
fan.
Sal went to Villanova.
Yeah.
You're from Philly originally.
Right. So there's a little, connection. So it's easy to root for them. Yeah.
And the Villanova Knicks, you're rooting
Nova
for them?
Knicks, man.
Okay.
I was Dante DiVincenzo. They traded him
Yeah,
away. That was stupid.
That was rough. We thought it was going to be a fun
yeah, it would have been all 5 starters.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Those are from the 2016 championship team
it.
and the 2018 championship.
How about this? Nancy knows her basketball.
She does, obviously.
I do. That's why even though Mary Marzano's sister Ann,
Ann Marzano, that's right. Shout out to Ann.
Huge
Yep, that's right.
basketball fan, huge Villanova basketball fan.
I don't like when I hang out the Marzanos and they're talking sports because I'm a sports guy, but they know more about sports than I do, and you feel all of a sudden
especially if you're
start to
talking about
shrink
that.
away. We look at college basketball, and they'll tell you how wrong you are. If you bring up a statistic or something. Oh no! He had 43% from 3-point.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
when we were at the repass at Ann's house, I think, or maybe it was Ann's house. After their father passed away,
Rudy, yes,
there was a Villanova game on at the repass.
Wow.
Which their father probably would have loved
Rudy
as well.
would have been fine with that. Yeah, Rudy would have told him to quiet down so he could hear the TV.
Right.
Be quiet, everybody.
That's right.
Right.
Yep. So basically, Nancy, I know there's so many issues that you have to deal with. There's redevelopment, for instance. I know downtown there's people are a little nervous about what may happen. Is this private developers? This is a privately owned piece of property.
Right. The redevelopment plan we're working on that isn't finalized yet, but it's really a zoning overlay document. It's what is permitted there. It's got nothing to do with who owns the property or what they're going to bring in, other than we can't just say you can only do a movie theater.
Kind of business.
Right.
Because that's
Can
just
you explain
not.
what the zoning overlay
Oh,
is?
sure. It's not the business zone, retail business zone of Maplewood Village has certain permitted uses and not permitted uses, and they have like restaurants, retail definitions. All zoning codes have definitions for what the use is, and then you allow or disallow certain uses. In a redevelopment zone, it's basically you can still have the uses in the downtown are permitted, but on top of that, there's either other restrictions with regard to bulk or height or things like that of a building, especially if something new is being built there. But as opposed to the post office redevelopment project in the village, which was a big hot topic 10 years ago.
Right. Which was owned, the property was owned by Maplewood.
Right, and the lease was going out for the post office. So,
yeah.
But a post office is an important thing to have in a downtown because it drives traffic.
Sure.
But that one was a distribution center. It was large and ugly, and I couldn't, when I was running with Jerry, that was tough for Jerry when we ran in 2015 because it was such a tough topic.
Yeah.
And we were primaried by Greg Lembrick, and but I was on the planning board still, and I couldn't really comment on that because it was coming before me. So I had a nice little easy out on that very hot topic. But I think what's there now far exceeds
I was about to say
benefits.
I was about to say that I was probably one of the leading guys back then who was yelling and screaming about
Against it?
Yeah, against it. I'm not even sure why.
Yeah.
You love that beautiful old post
It
office?
is
Yeah, I did. I liked mailing letters, but I'd probably just to be an agitator, like, whatever. But,
like you do.
Right, like I do. But I got to tell you something. When I'm sitting at the bar at Lorena's having this wonderful meal, this beautiful restaurant, I'll sit there and say, kind of like, that wasn't me. You scream and yell and keep the post office. But you know what? It worked out beautifully. They said it's going to change the feel of downtown, and the vibe, and it's going to look different. It's going to smell different. The sun's going to be blocked. I mean, everybody. There was
the shadow study.
Shadow study, and really, it's still the greatest downtown. I think in New Jersey. I don't think this new development's going to change the feel of that.
And I don't even know. None of us knows what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And what people forget or don't realize, because as I didn't, the movie theater building itself behind the facades on Maplewood Avenue is like 55 feet tall.
Yep.
And you just don't even see it.
Yeah.
So it's not everything is going to be so dramatic. So I feel like I understand that people want a movie theater again, but just like SOPAC just closed.
Yeah.
And as we were talking before, we'd go get sushi, and I know the movie theater closure hurt the sushi restaurant because a lot of people did that. You go get sushi, go to the movie, and then go to a pub after and talk about the movie, and that's. But it's not a thing that's happening anymore.
Right,
it's not. I mean, you want certain kind of businesses, you have to support them. Right?
Yeah.
And that SOPAC theater was not supported.
Right.
As wonderful a place as it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Maplewood movie theater, too. I mean, I have been to some movies there over the years. I might be the only one in the theater.
Yeah.
At times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it wasn't in the best of condition.
No,
Yeah,
it was
it
in
was-
pretty bad condition.
Yeah.
But it also, this is the Springfield Avenue Partnership work I did back in the 90s.
And your professional work, too, your day job.
It kind of led me into this low pay, nonprofit, lot of hours career that I've
Yes. I'm familiar with those type of jobs, too, by the way.
You all are, yes.
I make slightly more than in my day job as a downtown director that I do on the township.
Right. Well, that's good.
But
That's good.
But it sort of, so that became the work that I did in forming the partnership. Just when my youngest was going into first grade, then I got an opening. There was an opening for Main Street South Orange, which is running downtown South Orange. And it was a nonprofit. It was not a SID or BID. I'm sorry, it's Business Improvement District or Special Improvement District. In New Jersey only, it's a Special Improvement District because New Jersey's so special. Everywhere else, it's a Business Improvement District.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Business, BID. So you hear those acronyms.
Yeah.
But so people always want a certain thing in a downtown like the movie theater. Bookstore. The fact that we have words bookstore is not normal for a downtown because so many people, the big box stores like Barnes and Noble and that other one, I forget what it's called, and then Amazon, of course.
Right.
So people, like in my work, literally every downtown I've managed, which is South Orange, West Orange, a brief stint in Newark when Sharp James was still mayor, and Red Bank, and now I'm in downtown Summit for the last 8 years. And parking is always the number one issue, and they want a bookstore, but they order off Amazon. So
And
there's a
people should know
reality.
that at Word's bookstore, you can order everything that you can order through Amazon. You
That's
can go
right.
to Word's website, you can go to the store, and you can order the same books. Maybe it's not going to get there in 6 hours.
Right.
But you're going to get
right.
it within 2 days.
But
and
you
you're
could
helping
go
the
right
local
down
business.
there if you
Exactly.
need to. I just finished
Yep.
my book. Just run down to the
It's
village.
an amazing
it.
bookstore.
Yep.
You know, and perhaps it's not there forever. You know, you never know with small businesses. So you support Words.
That's right.
They're
And
not making trillions of dollars.
Right.
You know, it's a valuable business, and it's a great thing to have.
And that's sort of the so my governing comes from experience with downtown revitalization, redevelopment, economic development, business recruitment and retention, things like that, and also even events and marketing, because that's part of the managing a downtown. Is you can't just make it look pretty, but you have to let people know it's there. So it's all these things that you do to create a vibrant downtown. And we have 2 SIDs in Maplewood, Springfield Avenue Partnership and Maplewood Village Alliance. And, there's talk once about combining them, but it's really tough it's 2 completely different animals.
Yeah.
So that's tough. But the parking thing, that's always a number one complaint.
With Maplewood downtown.
Every downtown.
Yeah, with
Every downtown. But the reality is that, there's always talk about, doing a parking garage in Maplewood Village, which I am vehemently opposed to, by the way, for the record. I think that's the first time I've ever publicly said that, but I am. I don't think we need one, and I think it would very much change what it feels like in downtown
I agree
Maplewood.
with you 100% there. There's plenty of parking. You just got to poke
just
around
gotta
a little
look.
bit. Yeah, you got to look.
Right.
You can,
And you don't have to keep circling. You can park a couple blocks away and
might have
walk
to
if
walk
you're.
a block or
Yeah,
two.
yeah, and that's the exact argument in every downtown, including Summit. Like when people complain there's no parking, the complaint is really there's no parking directly in front of the place I want to go to.
Right, but if I'm willing to walk 4 or 5 blocks, like I'm
Not
in
even-
Manhattan,
I know. Or at a shopping mall, you park.
Right.
You
right.
fight to park close, and then you walk like a mile
That's it.
inside. It's
Yeah.
it's all kind of.
Now, why does South Orange have meters and Maplewood doesn't? Could that ever change?
Sure, it could change. There's a study being done right now by the Maplewood Village Alliance, I think, on what it would be to start having paid parking there.
Okay.
I'd have to look at what they come up with to see whether or not I'm in favor or against it.
Okay, right. Yeah.
I know from experience, again, like my work informs my governing quite a bit. So I can say that I've managed downtowns with paid parking, and it's not the be-all, end-all of solving the parking problem that people perceive or that exists. If I'm doing an event and I close all the streets off and I do an event downtown and I get 6,000 people there, they're finding someplace to park, right?
Yeah. You have Maplewood stock. Why?
Right.
All
Yeah.
of a sudden, how did
10,000
everybody get
people,
here?
where they come from. They do
right.
park. They park where they just, so it's just, I think it's a different mentality when you're going to a business district to shop or go to a specific store than if you're going for an event.
That's true.
So, but it's, but whether or not we do paid parking in the village, I remember, another mayor saying, "I don't want to be mayor when we make them pay for parking."
Yeah.
That will be the hot topic on the SOMA Lounge.
That's right.
Yes, that will absolutely be the hot topic. But you know what, Nancy? I'm reading your bio. Miss Adams believes in common sense and pragmatic governing, looking carefully at all sides of issues before deciding on her position.
That's true.
And you just told us that's what you're going to do with the parking. You're going to wait and see
Yeah.
before deciding if it's just something that's good, not good, and
I
take it from
don't think it's our job on the governing body to govern in a reactionary manner.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'm not on the right side of an issue because we're reacting to something that happened.
Yeah.
And or I'm not perceived to be on the right side of the issue. I may turn out to be on the right side of the issue, but I think it's important for a governing body to take a minute, even when it's something that just happened, or instead of reacting to that and making changes and spending money, tax dollars, to make those changes, to be careful and thoughtful about it and think it through.
So, Nancy, I had a neighbor. We called them the Louds, okay? And I'm not even sure what their real last name was, but in fact, if I were to call my wife right now, I guess I ran into Mr. Loud. Then she would, hey, how's Mr. Loud doing?
Is that in Maplewood or East Orange?
Maplewood.
Okay.
The reason we called him the Louds, the family of the Louds, and they were nice enough people, is because he loved his gas-powered blower. He was out there.
Hot topic.
I can't believe that came up.
Topic.
Matter of fact, you sent me the video I sent to you a few
did
years ago.
Public service thing he posted on Facebook.
The guy, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs over his, he's
gas
blowing
blower.
his leaves, right? So you are known, as the environmental mayor. I mean, the environment is very, very important to you, and so obviously. Gas-powered mowers and not lawnmowers, but the gas-powered blowers has been controversial. People love them. People hate them. There's turf issues. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on these issues that are very important to you.
Yeah, I'm kind of infamous in the tri-state area, actually.
I was going to say, Nancy has been
gas
looked
blowers.
to as an expert, not just in Maplewood and South Orange, but like statewide and in other places too, because of the work that she's done in this area.
Yeah, I never in my wildest imagination would think that I would know anything about a two-stroke engine or about gas leaf blowers at all. But it is what it is. Like I didn't even think it would be controversial. In my first year on the township committee is when 2016, we did a pilot. Don't need them in the summer. What are you blowing? There's hardly any grass growing. Like it just seemed logical.
Yeah.
Then we sat through hours and hours and hours of public comment on both sides of the issue, and you can't tell me what to do on my own property. And Vic very astutely said, well, there are externalities involved with what you do on your property.
Like sound.
Sound, noise, particulate matter, all of it, and pollution. So I didn't think it would be, and it still amazes me that this is such a controversial issue because we talk about changing, before Trump, when we were still talking about the environment and issues. We talk about getting rid of cars, gas-powered cars over the course of like a decade by 2030 or whatever, once upon a time. And yet the dirtiest engine on the planet was being blown at full throttle in multiples on 50 by 150 lot. And we think that's okay. And so, to me, it makes zero sense because there are ways to maintain the property. And I don't think anybody would say that our properties in Maplewood look any worse for not having gas leaf blowers on them. Yep. They look all the same to me. So
I drive through the town
they're probably better, in fact.
The houses are beautiful. The properties are beautiful.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's just a priority. Like, what is the priority?
That's a funny thing that you just said. Yeah, that you look at the properties. It's not like the place is falling down.
You don't see any difference.
Yeah, and you're like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Now the grass and the leaves all over the place, and this is
and I understand that this is a piece of equipment that small companies were using to do their jobs efficiently and effectively. I would argue that they're less time now because the routine was get on the property, blow, mow, trim, and blow again. And now they don't do the blow on each end, and they use the battery blowers, which are the only ones permitted, more carefully and less of them. So they're mowing more of the leaves into the yard, and then they have less tonnage, which we saved money on, by the way, as another perk when it was the first year round. So I won't go into that because it's a rabbit hole that I'll stay in forever.
Right.
But the artificial turf is very similar in my mind. DeHart to me was a no-brainer. I don't understand why we would basically put plastic on almost the entire green space in the most densely populated neighborhood in town. That aside, I also don't think we should do it in the school district and put artificial turf on Olive Ritzer Field, which is right along Valley Street. And there's priorities of people. I guess part of being older is like you see what priorities really were priorities. Like your kids used to play soccer. My kids played soccer.
Right.
They played in the fall and in the spring. And now, because of artificial turf, they want they want to. My kid needs to play all year.
Year round,
Your
right?
kid does not need to play all year round, but if they do, and the likelihood of your kid being like a pro soccer player is pretty slim.
Yeah, right. If the turf is taking your kid from not making millions of dollars in sports because
right.
I mean, right. That's,
Well, and then
on,
there's
what are the odds of
injuries.
that?
We get complaints about injuries on the natural grass, which do happen, of course, because you're playing sports, and sometimes it's because of the condition of the field. Injuries also happen on artificial turf, so it's not. It's looked at as a maintenance free, which it's not. It requires maintenance just like a regular field does, and it's looked at as the be all end all saver, and it's not. It's hot as hell.
Yep.
In the summer, it's a good 50 degrees hotter on an artificial turf than it is on grass.
Wow.
It's
And I'll vouch for that. There's a field where I live now.
it's hot.
You walk on that thing, try to jog on that thing in the summer. Yeah.
But it's also just then for the environmental part of the question, it's
chemicals,
the crumb rubber and it's the PFAS. It's literally the plastics that never go away.
Yeah.
Is in that field and being washed off into the water systems.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you can be an environmentalist and be in favor of artificial turf. We are spending a nice chunk of tax dollars on. We did get a grant for the design of DeHart, redesigning it. It's being redesigned now. It looks like the layout is going to be 2 high school-sized soccer fields and no softball field, which makes me sad just because I played softball in that field for about 10 years.
Yeah.
But softball will continue to be played in Maplewood.
Elsewhere, yeah.
Right.
We may need to look at
Just a
future
couple blocks
lighting.
away.
Right. So anyway, like anything else, we looking at it as carefully as possible and getting lots of input about how, whether it's sand or soil or compost or sand, like what the composition of literally the dirt underneath what will be a field. So we're working on it. We hear what the community wants. We don't, whether we agree 100% with what the community wants is neither here nor there. We're still addressing the problem. We're just doing it in a more environmentally friendly way.
Yeah.
For which to me is the long term is more important than the short term that your kids are playing a sport.
Well, and there was a referendum a couple of years back on turf fields too, and the town voted against putting turf fields in.
Correct, which was, and I was the lone person on the township committee. It was a bond ordinance, so it requires a supermajority to fund an artificial turf field at DeHart. That got approved by my 4 colleagues, and I voted against it. And then people who were against it in the community got enough signatures to put it on for referendum that year, and it got voted down. So that's how democracy is supposed to work.
That's basically how it works.
It.
Yeah. And like my son is always telling me, because we've argued about this before. He says he uses the soccer goalie diving into the chemicals and breathing that in.
The scrapes you get.
Scrapes and because he vehemently opposes turf. So
are you in favor of artificial turf?
You know what?
Not anymore. Not after I just convinced you.
I don't have grandkids
Nancy just
yet.
convinced you.
Yeah, man. But I'm always on Team Nancy. So
there you go.
Because so
he's my biggest fan.
That's
It's a little frightening.
Well, especially now.
Remember that
I know
movie,
that.
Misery?
Misery.
Yes. Oh.
I'm Kathy Bates.
That's it.
I'm your number 1 fan.
Well, you are my favorite.
That is a great movie.
Member of the township committee ever. Okay, you're number
thank
1.
you.
Okay,
He says that all the time.
That's right. Ken Pettis is number 2. Because
okay.
And everybody else, if you want to be on my list, you got to come into the podcast.
That's
you
it.
got to
Come
join
on
us.
on.
Well, I think what I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think what you like about me is that I say what I think.
You say what you think. You know what I like about you, Nancy? The minute I met you about 15 years ago, 14, 13 years.
I don't know.
In the instant, it was instant that you were funny, you were engaging, and I didn't know who you were. I didn't know that you were so involved with the town and the community. And you were just a funny, nice person. You didn't judge. You
Yeah.
know, and you get a
That's
feel
a
for people
try.
right up there. And then after I met her a few times, like, oh, that's that Nancy Adams. Yeah, the one's always
one
running
in
up and down South
politics.
Orange with screaming, "Who left their cigarette butt down there?" Who's is it? So you know, and I've watched your political career kind of take off, and some people change when they a little bit of power, whatever it is. You don't. You're still Nancy.
No.
You're walking
It's
Millie.
silly.
You
I have a
know,
little bit of power for a little bit of time. You know, it's just a snippet of life, right?
Yeah, you're right. Then you leave, and
Then I'm-
right.
right.
You're stuck in traffic like everybody else. So you're right.
Well, yeah. I can't tell you when I go to Summit to work. Right now, I have to walk. I have to walk like 5 blocks from where I park to my downtown office, and I have to deal with leaf blowers, and I can't tell you how frustrating that is.
Right.
It's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
I worked so many years on this, and I can sit on my porch, but I can't walk from my car to my
It's
office
a very
without
different
it.
governing body and stuff.
Oh,
Right?
here's a funny
Yes.
Nancy, funny Nancy Adams story. So I'm on an airplane a couple years ago. We're flying to Italy, okay, and to Rome,
Nancy was piloting the plane.
pretty much.
God, I hate planes.
So I'm sitting next to a couple, two girls, two women, and there's 2 guys sitting here, and there's another woman sitting over there. And so, where you from? They're from Summit. So I said, oh, you know Nancy Adams, because they have a little business in town.
Yeah.
We know Nancy Adams. They start going crazy. We know the people in front of us knew Nancy. The people next
shut
to knew.
up.
The people across the aisle knew Nancy.
What?
She Skypes, because we hadn't taken off yet. She Skypes like
Skype.
yeah,
I don't think there is Skype anymore. Is there?
whatever it was.
still is.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago. You know.
Yeah, when Antoinette, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy is on her phone, and he's I see him, Nancy. So
Oh,
whole
my
place talking
God.
about Nancy Adams, and we're taking
That's
off to Rome.
ridiculous.
plane.
Yeah,
I
and-
wish I was on the plane taking off to Rome.
Yeah, and I'm still friendly with them. Actually, Facebook friends with them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we'll be friends forever. But you never see him again once the plane lands.
Well, I can tell you where she works.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
She's great.
That's
and
funny. That's a good story.
She owns the UPS store.
Yeah, that's right. She owns the UPS store.
Nancy Adams for mayor signs in Rome on that trip.
But
that'd be nice.
they talk so highly of the work you do in Summit.
Oh,
okay,
thanks.
because I know you're involved in the downtown. What's the exact title there? I guess.
Executive Director of Summit Downtown.
Okay.
Inc.
Right. Yeah. So, and they said she's the greatest executive director of
great.
Downtown Inc. in the
not
history
Wow.
of Summit.
Jeez, I'm going to come here every day and have you talk to me. Like
That's right. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I expanded the work of the organization. And I brought music to the streets, and because Summit was, when I got there, felt a little stuffy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to do something about that. So yeah, I did.
That's what's nice
A little
about this
bit.
part of New Jersey is Maplewood, South Orange,
Mm-hmm.
Summit. They all have their different feel, their different. You know, right? I mean, Summit's a different. It's 5 minutes away, but it's
Right, it's different.
It's the
Yeah.
people are different. The vibe
They're
is different.
wealthier.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's, well, my first 7 years running the downtown there was a Democratic mayor who was very involved because the mayor there is on your board. So, and then 2 council members. It's a very government heavy board. So now the politics have shifted over the last few years. And so it's, and because I have the title mayor,
Yeah.
it's actually been used as a slur against me in Summit, the mayor of Maplewood, like implying that I'm like this socialist, which has nothing whatsoever to do with my work.
right.
But you know, it's
Like
politics.
Bernie Sanders just arrived
Yeah.
on the scene, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's what it.
AOC in Summit.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. And when I didn't, I mean, I've been on the governing body for 9 years, so, but it didn't. It was a wonderful thing when for the first 7 years I was there, because they knew that I understood the
Right.
municipality's perspective with regard to any initiatives downtown, and vice versa. So it was great. And then when I became mayor, it was a little more notoriety.
Yep.
So now it's being used as, and here I'm not progressive enough.
Yeah,
Right.
And in
there-
Summit,
there,
I'm
you're
too-
out-
I'm
you're
too-
out of
You're a
control.
communist.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk about AOC. Now, you want to get back at Sheena a little bit for this lieutenant governor type of thing. AOC runs for president in 4 years. You should be a vice president.
Oh, God,
Right?
I
Would
could
that-
be-
right?
yeah,
We could have
I-
a lieutenant governor come out of being mayor. Why not have a
Yeah.
vice president of the United
I
States?
could
So,
Perfect.
totally not ever see that happen.
you and AOC, I would be.
You may as well tell me me
Yeah,
that
someone will
8
really
years
love you
from
then,
now I'll
right?
know gas leaf blowers. Yeah.
They'll be banned United States worldwide.
That's right, actually. Yeah,
That's-
that would
that's-
be nice.
So what are your thoughts, actually, a couple years? You think she's both of you guys are political, very astute politically, obviously. AOC, you think I think she's going to be, I think she's going to be the candidate in 4 years. I'm not saying that's great or bad. I'm just saying I think she's going to be.
Really?
Yeah, what do you
I
guys-
don't know. God,
What do you
I
think
don't,
about
think I don't think she's going to be president in 2028.
No.
I think she's going to be United States Senator for the state of New York
replacing
in
Schumer
2028.
at some
yeah.
point? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't
I mean,
thought of that.
She's still young, right?
She's
Yeah.
very young, and she's
Right.
not even old enough yet to be
She
president.
may
is
not
she?
be 35 yet.
She's not
so you've got to
35,
be
yeah.
35 according
don't
to the
think she'll be
Constitution
35
to be
by then.
president.
Yeah, but there's a constitution. Do
It's
we
in the
still have that?
Constitution. Yeah, yeah.
Do we still have a
exactly.
constitution?
That's true. That might be out the window.
No,
by
but I
then.
think I think the first
She's
woman.
35 right now, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
She was born in,
Is she?
she was
Okay.
born in 1989.
Oh,
She was born the
The
same year.
Google, the Google machine.
Born the same year Nancy moved to Maplewood.
There we go.
1989.
Oh, that's right.
That's it.
35. Oh my
There's a
God.
little kismet there.
Yeah. By the way, 1989, I was in college, just so you know.
Okay,
Yeah,
shut
so,
up.
right.
Try not to speak. But that is the whole.
That's
But
it.
I think the first woman president, if we ever get there, and I think our world would be better for it when we have a woman president. I think women are very good at governing,
I agree.
at leading and multitasking.
Yeah.
But I think I'm only the second woman mayor in Maplewood,
Right.
so
Davenport.
right,
Adams.
and then me,
In 100 years.
27
100
years later or
years.
something.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, now if
So-
not for Davenport, you would have been the first. So
Yeah,
you know,
damn it,
right,
Ellen.
So yeah, she's Ellen always.
She's the first in the 21st century.
That's
right.
right.
Yes, okay.
There you go.
That's
There
right.
you go.
Yes.
But I mean, I just think that because of the politics in the country, I would guess that the first woman president would be a Republican woman.
I think that might very well be the case as well.
Yeah.
I think AOC is just she's like a dirty name to the
That's
other
it.
side.
I mean, her
She's-
politics are the same as Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has made a lot of headway, not only in the Democratic Party, but the Republican Party as well.
Yeah.
But I think AOC will still be seen
And plus,
as
she's a
a
girl.
young,
Yeah.
pretty woman.
Yeah,
by
she's
a
a
lot of
young,
people.
pretty one. See, I'm not. That's the difference. I can be mayor now because I'm not as cute as I used to be.
And I've seen pictures, by the
You're
way, of
still as
Nancy.
cute.
I've seen pictures from her
We know
college
you're not
days.
20.
No, but
25
honestly,
anymore.
it's true. Like a woman experience I'm not going to lie. I'm 67, and in my experience, going through life as a woman and going into the workforce as a young woman who was still cute,
Yep.
know,
Right.
I've seen the pictures.
you
Yep.
got treated very differently. I get treated differently now at a table than I did
when you were kind of
when
a
I was
kid,
young
yeah,
and cute.
yeah.
Nancy
part
and I
of
had
its
a lot of
experience.
these conversations over
Yeah,
the years.
it's so
Yes.
true though. And I was the only woman on the township committee for like
For a very
4
long
years,
time.
4 or 5 years.
And you
yeah.
were at least a foot shorter than
Oh
all
my
the
God,
other
the
members.
pictures used to drive me
I
nuts.
think when
Yeah,
Lembrick was there, it was like
it was
6'4" or
Lembrick.
whatever.
It was all
right?
four, all
Yeah.
four of them.
They
up
were all
there.
6
They
feet
were all,
tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
And I'm
Plus.
five. I was 5'1". I don't know if I'm still 5'1".
But here you are pushing them all out of the way and saying, I'm going to be mayor, see? Right? There's
Yeah,
nothing
I
anybody
don't
can
do
about
that
it.
either. I don't know.
It took some work.
It took some work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took some time.
So every year we elect new township committee members, or they run for re-election. But this year
Correct.
there's been some changes. Malia Herman is in there. Different feel, same feel. I know she's vice mayor now. I
Deputy
believe.
mayor, yeah.
Yeah, deputy mayor.
And Deb Engel's not running again, so
Right,
that
you
seat
got-
is open, and
got a
there's
couple-
two.
But we have a woman running
Yes.
who's been endorsed by the Maplewood Democratic
Right.
Committee, Jane Collins-Golding.
Okay.
There's
Okay,
there's
excellent.
only
So Deb is going to be
now-
there till her term is up.
till the end of the year.
The end
Yeah.
of the year. Okay.
So it's a majority women
Yeah,
township
yeah,
committee
which was
for
the
the
last
first
2 years,
last 3 maybe.
3 years.
I
Oh, one
can't.
Jermaine was on, right?
Jermaine, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a continuity, I would imagine having a consistent DeLuca and yourself and the people that you know. And
You know, there's always an argument against people who've served a long time, and I think it's maybe on a local level. I think sometimes it's warranted. You know, I happen to agree with Vic on on that elections are the term limits. You shouldn't have term limits because that's the election. If you don't want somebody on the governing body anymore, you
vote them out.
vote them out.
Right.
And but I think there's a hell of a lot to be said for not just historical background of the town, but experience in
Yep.
and knowing what
Yeah.
to do.
Sure.
You know,
true.
it's not just get up there and you really have to think wider than your own opinion on things. And I think that's a trap some people fall in, or part of the reason I'm not thought of as progressive enough, I think, in Maplewood is because I don't do identity politics very much, and I don't make decisions based on this person should be on because of who they are, what color they are, what religion they are, whatever it is. But I do think that experience is really, really important, and what somebody knows. Like, I've worked with or within municipal government for like 30 years now, so I know how municipal employees feel about elected officials, for example.
Sure.
Like, I don't go in there with a big head and run the town because I know how they think. They think, yeah, I'm here for the long haul. You're going to be voted out.
That's
You're only here
That's it.
temporarily.
People come and people go.
I mean,
in
they're
those positions.
respectful, but to go in with a big
Day-to-day
head,
operation of the town
Yeah.
is done by township employees,
That's
not by
right.
the elected officials.
right? I mean, and the mayor does, like, when I have office hours on Tuesdays. I work from town hall on Tuesdays every week. And that's when, I have meetings with staff, or I have meetings with public, or public stops in. That's what my office hours are. So, but I'm not micromanaging the way the place is run. I did fight really hard to get a desk for one of our employees. So sometimes I stick at it, but
He's sitting on the floor. You're like, hey, come on,
Yeah.
guys. Right?
Or
We
he's
can do better.
at a different desk every time he's in the town hall. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's hard work, and you're
very
not getting
hard
paid a
work.
lot of money to do it,
Nope.
but you do it because you love your community. I mean, basically, at the end of the day, you love it here, and that's why I think you're doing this, Nancy.
Yeah, I love having. I think I bring value to the table, and in governing, and I think I've done some really good things for the community and kept an eye on certain things. I've gotten tree planting to be a priority. I'm an advocate for the Memorial Park Conservancy, where I've been the liaison since it was established 8 years ago.
Great.
And fought for them, and fought for, and DPW works really. So there's these little things that happen that most people don't know. But, were it not for my work on something wouldn't have happened, say, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember years ago when I ran, I had done no community service. Matter of fact, my joke was, "Did you do community service?" I said, "No, well, it was expunged."
Yeah, right.
But
Just gonna
but
say,
that's what Ian
I did
was,
prison time.
That's what
huh?
Ian was asking me, because you were on the chair of the Maplewood committee back then.
Yep.
And so I talked with Ian, I talked with Vic. I had to meet up with the whole district leaders, and that was what they wanted to know: what kind of volunteer work had he done? I really hadn't done any.
Right.
I was just being.
You're kind of a selfish person.
I was just right. I just want to be popular, basically. I'm going to be on the township
popular
committee, right? And they're going to write about me in the Village Green, or it was actually
God.
before Village Green. It was
Yeah, it was-
News
That's
Record.
another,
News Record.
News
another
Record.
important point about Nancy, right? Because a lot of people who run for political office like the limelight, right?
Yeah.
And Nancy doesn't really look for the limelight. Nancy really
I
looks to dig in and get the work done without looking for accolades, without being in the spotlight. And that's what I think is the really great thing about Nancy being mayor.
Yeah.
in
Oh,
Maplewood
thank you.
now. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, Ian's always, all these years of like running, he's always, you have to talk about what you've done.
That's every
I'm
year,
like,
whenever she and I talk, I'm like, you gotta like promote yourself a little bit more, Nancy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Whether
It
your mom
feels
said the
so
same thing to you
self-serving.
back then. Your mom said, "You go to Broadway,
Oh, I know.
get on stage," and you were like, "I'm more,
Yeah.
maybe I'm a background person." You know. So, but really, at the end of the day, all those years of volunteer work, Nancy, your mayor, that's almost like, for a job well done, here's the award. You get to wear the hat, and
Yeah.
you should be proud of that.
I'm proud of it, I guess. Yeah, maybe after I'm done serving, I'll be more proud of it. But also, what I am proud of is putting a little bit of a spotlight for the young girls in the community
Sure. Yeah.
on women. Starting from when we were celebrating Black History Month, as we should, in February with lots of events in town. And then we'd get to March and we did a proclamation for Women's History Month, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that doesn't seem right. So that's why we do more for Women's History Month. SOMA celebrates women, and we spotlight it a lot more.
Yeah.
And that was the best at the 1978 gallery. I don't know if either of you got a chance to go over there during March.
Yeah, not this year.
All the kids, we put a call out for young women, girls, non-binary artists in the community. We got 50 young artists to contribute over 90 pieces, and they were fabulous. And they were. It was also just really, it really moved me, because then part of the genius of our cultural affairs director, she put out, Andrea is her name. She had them do like little cartoon, like a statement, like what it's like to be a girl. And then had the little, cartoon bubbles, like in between the pieces of work with things that these young kids said about how hard it is to be a girl, or why they like being a girl, or what they want to be. That kind of was really inspiring.
I love that.
Yeah, it was that was even better than the art. But it was just nice to be recognized for being a girl.
Talk about Women's History Month, Nancy. The way you took the lead a few years ago. So I used to do these stand-up comedy shows. I used to produce these stand-up shows.
Oh, that's right.
At the Bergdorf years ago it was Women's History Month. So I'm producing a show. I'm gonna headline it. Yeah, I'm getting all these comics. And so Nancy says, "Hey, maybe we can do something in conjunction for Women's History Month." So I was like, "Well, what can we do?" And Nancy said, "Well, I have a big banner." So you bring this big giant banner, and you said you'll hang it up, and we'll hang it up behind the stage and all that. So, but then Nancy starts to say, it's Women's History Month, so maybe it should be some female comics. And I said, good idea. Let me make sure I get some female
Did
comics.
I do that? I
Yes.
don't remember doing that.
And then Nancy said,
Play along.
Nancy said, it'd be really nice if they were all female comics. She's
Ladies
like,
of laughter.
Right. So that was, but I'm like, you're not a female, Nancy tells me. So anyway, so I have so she gives me the banner, and now it's gonna be all women. We called it the Women's Show, or the Women.
I forget.
Women
It was
Rocks, and so
I kind of remember that.
yeah. We had the Bergdorf. It was sold out. They had the banner. So then
That's
Nancy,
right.
so then afterwards the show's over, and I'm cleaning up because I didn't get to perform, because it was all women. As per
Well,
Nancy.
maybe if you shave the beard or something.
That's right. Yeah. See, maybe I could have done Dustin Hoffman Tootsie, right?
Tootsie.
Yeah.
There you go.
But so then she says, "Well, I need the banner back. Just get it back to me when you can." I go, "Well, when do you need it back?" As she's walking out the door, she goes, "Oh, tomorrow we need it at 7 a.m. for our parade." Or
Yeah.
So the banner ripped as it was coming down. So I spent half the night gluing the thing back together, and then I had to go to Nancy's house at 6 o'clock in the morning to drop the banner off. Yeah. So anyway,
Poor Lee.
So thanks, Nancy, for all that.
Poor Lee.
That was your volunteer work.
Yeah.
You run for
See?
political office.
Now you can run.
Right
Yeah.
now I can run.
You can run
yes.
for East Orange and say
That's
what you
right,
did
that's
for
right,
Maplewood.
yes.
That's it.
I have a very good chance of winning in East Orange. Better than Maplewood. Better than Maplewood.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, you'd have to move here again.
That's right. Yeah, you know what? I live 5 minutes away, ladies and gentlemen, just over the border. I love
In
it
Maplewood
there.
dorms.
But the reason I'm there, Maplewood, the reason I'm there is I loved SOMA so much, and when we sold the house,
You didn't want to go too far.
didn't want to go too far,
Yeah.
and the best move I ever made.
Good.
But, yeah. Once SOMA, always SOMA.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I think so.
Yeah, and that's why we call it Maplewood dorms.
That's right. It's a
So
Maplewood
many
dorm.
Maplewood
That's right.
residents.
It's a who's who
That's it.
over there. That's right.
really
yes,
is.
Yes.
It's funny.
If you want to know anything about Maplewood from the 90s or the 80s, is
Yeah.
go to
South
my
Harrison
building.
and East Orange.
A line of people.
Not that
yeah,
long
yeah,
ago,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Ron Carter, he's
Right.
He's over
Ron and
there.
Vicky,
Pettis is
my
over
old
there.
neighbors.
I want to mention so many names.
Greenfield,
Privacy
Barbara
Club.
Heisler,
Heisler is over there.
Mary
that's right.
Kay,
Mary Kay, yeah.
Sandra.
Sandra
Sandra.
Charlap, right? The
Right.
wonderful, talented artist.
and
Did
Lee
you
and
see, by the way?
Bronwyn.
Yep.
You see Sandra Charlotte?
Yes, the
with
SZA thing? I
yeah,
did.
Yeah, she
That's
designed
it.
something. SZA had it on stage.
Yep.
and-
In my 5 minutes a day on social media, I've happened to see.
Yeah,
her
yeah,
post a
yeah. So
picture.
congratulations to Sandra. So,
Yeah, and that's a PSA I'd like to put out there. If you want to reach members of the township committee,
Yeah.
email us.
Yes, that's right.
Good.
Because posting us or tagging us on social media isn't as effective, and it's
So what
Sometimes a
is
little.
what are the email addresses? Your first
First
initial,
initial,
last name
yep.
at
MaplewoodNJ.gov.
So it's Nadams.
Nadams.
Yeah,
Nadams,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, Nancy Adams, right?
That was actually
right?
my when I worked for Wegmans when I was in high school, because Wegmans is from Rochester, by the way, and so I worked at Danny Wegman, went to high school with my sister, so Nadams was how my name was on the work chart.
Yeah.
So the front end manager when I was working would get on the mic when we needed more cashiers. Nadams up front, please. Nadams.
So if anyone
So it's
has-
not Nadams.
But if anybody has a complaint or a compliment or they want to reach you, they reach to nadams at maplewoodnewjersey.gov.
No, at
And
MaplewoodNJ.gov.
N
Nadams at MaplewoodNJ.gov.
NJ.gov.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
people should once in a while send a thank you or a
Yeah,
nice
it's
note
nice
to members
little-
of the township committee as well, because
We
like
do.
you
We
said
do get that.
earlier, very often it is a thankless job for almost no money.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a full-time job, the amount of time that
Yeah,
they put in.
I often wish I was retired so I could put more into the
Yep.
different projects I do, like just be more, but I can't.
Yeah.
And if I want to make a phony phone call, I'll call 973-762-8120 extension 2105.
Oh, is that my
That's,
extension?
yeah, 2105. Yeah. So if anyone wants to call Nancy, right? You pick up on the first
My
ring.
cell is
message.
probably easier.
Yeah, but email.
Your refrigerator's
Email
running.
Nancy.
Yeah.
And by the way, Nancy gets back to you. Look, I asked her to come to the show.
Here she is.
There she is. So
Here I am.
there she
That's
is.
right.
So-
That's because you have my cell number.
that's right. That's right. Yes.
If you call that number you just
I'm
gave.
officially an insider, right? Yes, I have the.
You
I
both
the
have
goods.
a lot of people have my cell number.
That's true.
I'm not that special.
Not to make you feel less special than you are.
You're still special, Lee.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're
that's right.
special.
Well, that I won't share on the air.
You're
your cell phone
special
number.
in a
I
lot
am.
of ways.
I am. Unfortunately,
Right, as
yes,
Bronwyn
they weren't able to
would
cure
call.
me of that affliction. But
Yeah.
That's specialness.
That's
It's-
specialness. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
My wife thinks I'm special, so yeah, Bronwyn does.
Sometimes.
Well,
Yeah, but-
she's told me some stuff.
she tells people everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of work, that woman. But Ian is a.
She's a lot of work, or she has a lot of work.
No, she's a lot of work.
Oh,
Ian's
she's
a
a-
mediator. I'm always threatening her. Don't make me call Ian.
That's
You
it.
know?
Call Ian.
Exactly right.
Call Ian.
She's like, I dare you to call her.
I dare you.
Right. Yeah. She would love if I called.
She's
her.
like pushing him over the balcony, choking him.
I served her with divorce papers. She would just be, where do I sign? Right here. You know? She'd be off to the races.
That's
Yeah,
probably true.
Yeah, it's true.
That's not even a bit.
No, that's right. Ian,
Is that all you got for
I
me?
think that's basically it.
I think we had quite a bit.
Yeah.
Did we?
Thank
I
you,
don't know.
Nancy.
Yeah. Oh, my mother-in-law is she's living now at the Winchester Gardens.
Winchester Gardens.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So she moved down from Rhode Island. She would like
Nice.
you to appear at Winchester Gardens and talk to some of the local residents there. So she asked if I could ask you
Oh, on the air.
on the air. That's right.
On the air.
That's right. She would love to see you. And
I have been at Winchester Gardens since I've been mayor. We did a ribbon cutting for.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
really. It's easy to get lost on the grounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Very easy.
Yeah.
I know because I walked literally everywhere
whole
because I
place.
trying to get
do
to
I
where
get
I
in
was
here?
going.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
the facility is beautiful, and so that's where I'm retiring to someday. When the Winchester.
I don't know if
Gardens.
I can afford it.
Yeah, probably can't. You know. But,
Oh, you might be able to.
well, once this podcast takes off, Ian.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
Then
right.
I can retire.
well,
too.
now that I'm on it,
That's
it's
right,
gonna
yeah,
go.
we'll be rolling
It's
in
gonna
the
go
dough.
viral.
We're going to have tens of thousands of listeners.
That's right. Yes. Tens of
Yeah.
hundreds of listeners. Yeah.
We're going to
But
have tens of listeners.
Tens of listeners.
I'm not
yes.
trying to skirt your question. I'd be happy to. I just
Okay.
need to know what
Yeah,
I'm
we'll figure
going
something out.
when.
Yeah.
What's her name works there as an event
Deb
person?
Collin.
Deb Cologne. Yeah.
Yeah. Deb Cologne.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's over there. Yeah.
So tell her to
I will. I'll
contact
get
me.
Deb in touch with you. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. You know Deb, right? Yeah, she used to.
I don't think I do.
She used to help Julie in the Village Alliance stuff. Julie
she's
Doran.
over there.
know her.
Yeah, Deb's cool people.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, I guess Ian, we should wrap it up.
I
This
think
has
we should
been
wrap it
so
up.
much fun. I don't want
Thank
to.
you very
but,
much, Nancy.
But yeah.
I can't believe I was awake enough
yeah.
to do this.
You were very awake.
Yeah, we offered you free coffee. You said no. I brought my own. You know,
I just
and,
brought my water.
yeah,
See,
yeah, so-
reusable.
Very
That's
good.
the other thing I've done. I've annoyed the township clerk to the extent that
Same here.
don't.
What was that?
We
Becky?
don't like the
Oh, that was-
plastics. That's the other thing I'd like people to do.
Less
That's
plastic.
my less use of single-use products.
Yeah.
It's really,
Yeah.
really important.
It is important.
Yeah. It's
And it saves so
difference.
much money.
And it's easy to do.
It's so easy. It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easier than people think.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like plastic because.
Because you like to.
Yeah, because
It's probably in you.
I
I was
think
going to say, you like
You
that,
probably
those
have
plastic bits.
plastic
in the brain.
bits in the
I
heart.
think the meaning of life is plastic. I think that's what God.
What are you, the graduate?
That's
I
right.
was
He
just gonna say.
right, we're all gone. God will have all the plastic.
Plastics.
That's right.
Just remember one word.
That's
Plastics.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's right. So Nancy,
As
this
he
was awesome.
dives in the pool.
This was a great time. So
It
Yeah.
was. Thank you.
I
all right.
appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
so-
you for being kind and not,
okay.
harassing me or
No,
making me
no.
feel bad.
So
Oh, this was great. This is
This is
great.
good.
So everybody out there, the Nancy Lee and Ian show.
There we go.
There you
we're gonna
go.
Wrap it up, right?
Yep.
And
I still think we should do another one like at happy hour time.
okay, we could do that. All right. A little wine and cheese.
Then it
There
would
you
be a
go.
little
Right,
funnier.
right, right.
It'll
From
be
the
definitely
You want
funnier.
to know the truth? What I think of the rest of the township committee? I'll tell you the truth.
Well, Lee, you know my favorite word.
Yep.
And I have never let it slip on the dais. I'm very proud
That's
of that.
right, yeah.
That's my proudest accomplishment in 9
Very
years.
good.
I
Yeah.
have never let it slip, even though I use it frequently during the day.
That's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah,
It's
especially,
so useful. It helps.
especially when people get up there and they just want to yell at you because and
It's
tell
happened.
you off,
And I have
they're
not
just,
said
and
it.
people get aggravated and angry, and I get it, and sometimes you're frustrated, but yeah, I've seen some.
Me too.
Yeah, I've seen. Over
Not
the
that
years.
long ago, actually.
Yeah, right.
I think I was there for that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out. But anyway, Nancy, this was great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
I
Ian.
appreciate it.
A pleasure as always.
All right.
Yeah.
Until we do it again. Good night,
Let's do it
everybody.
again.
Thank you.